we are navigating formlessness through Pisces season. And this is the inner aspect of creation that is not yet knowable, not yet tangible. It has not come to form. It is energy that is alive and powering us, but we are unconscious of it. So we're exploring when the moon is in Scorpio, and that is all about coming into right relationship with our emotions. And the moon stays in a zodiac sign for about 2.5 days, so it does shift fairly quickly. And when the moon shifts out of Scorpio, it moves into the sign of Sagittarius. And the energy of Sagittarius that is especially heightened in the time of Pisces, which is now when the sun is in Pisces, is the ability to come into right relationship with our thoughts. Now, we have likely all heard the phrase that our thoughts create our reality. So to me, when we're looking at the unconscious energies around this, the moon in Sagittarius asks us, well, what creates the thoughts? What perceptions, what beliefs, likely unconscious, what past occurrences, past stories, social, cultural, generational, ancestral, familial mythos. Each of us has a personal myth, but that personal myth is informed by the myth of where we came from. And that goes back, decades, centuries, thousands of generations ago, and most of us are not conscious of it. So this notion that, I like this, I do things this way, this is my preference, we are in our very tiny area of consciousness. We think that this is us, right? We think that we are our thoughts, we are our emotions, we are our preferences. But the entire journey into self-liberation and self-illumination offers a larger stretch, right? Where we're like, if I'm not my thoughts, my preferences, my likes, my dislikes, then who am I? What am I? I am ... right? So when we think about the type of thoughts that are creating reality, or when we start to feel into it, and if they're unconscious, we literally have no idea what is creating the thoughts that then create our reality. So I'll give you a very quick example of this. If we look out at the world and we're like, everything is so hard and chaotic and everyone's just, like life is crazy and the world is cruel. Or, another example is just having a mentality of lack, right? Or there isn't enough money. Maybe you're not poor, but we have this innate struggle, like we can't sit, we can't settle. We have that because we inherently believe that the world is lacking, or the world is bad, or there isn't enough money. Now that came from somewhere, right? It came from anything. Family, culture, generations, our own personal experiences. Oftentimes when we work with the emotional body, we find that it comes from locked trauma. Maybe it comes from a child perception of something, where we as children experience something, perceived something, were told something, and then we keep that perspective as our lens through which we then perceive the world. And so the other aspect of the Sagittarius energy, which is certainly around our thoughts and our belief systems, but it's also the words and the tone of our self-talk and our self-narrative. If we keep telling ourselves, I really want to maybe I want to be more patient, or I want to be better at life, or I want to do something, but I can't because I can't help how I think and feel. I can't help it. My thoughts, my feelings, it just happens. I have no control. Or, people just exhaust me. I'm an empath. I'm sensitive. I'm so sensitive. So people are so exhausting. So I can't hang out with people. When we talk like that, whether it is to other people or whether it is to ourselves, that actually powers how we perceive our reality. So we perceive our reality through this lens as if we took a fun pair of glasses that had like a cool design, forgot that it wasn't our natural eyes, never took it off, and now we're just perceiving the world through everything is hard, people are mean to me, there isn't enough, there's lack, there's overflow. That's why it gets so difficult to change our mindset, to shift our perspectives. That's why people do deep energy work. That's why people do trauma and healing and all of this stuff. So when the moon was in Scorpio, and I think it's brilliant because Scorpio and Sagittarius, one is after the other. So when we're working with our emotions through Scorpio season, or through like when the moon is in Scorpio, we then actually have to also look at how we are relating to our mentality, our perception, our self-talk, and then that is actually how we talk to, speak out into the world. And I say words is an important part, but so is tone, right? Like the tone of our self-talk. If we always speak with an undertone of cruelty to ourselves, if we speak with an undertone of shame and worthlessness, there's a nuance to that. And again, a lot of us are unconscious. How often when you're like thinking about something and you're walking down the street, how often do you pause and you are like, is this a kind tone? Would I speak to somebody else like this? Right? So this is what is illumined by the moon transiting through the sign of Sagittarius. And coming into right relationship with our thoughts enables us the perception and the power to choose the thoughts that align with what we're trying to create, what we're trying to dream. Similar to when the energy is in Scorpio, we are not enslaved to our emotions, and neither are we enslaved to our thoughts. I'll offer this because I think it is, it's a very subtle thing, but to me, it changes how we experience energy in a way. Oftentimes, if you stub your toe, it's very obvious that you've hurt your physical body, right? When someone says something mean to you, you feel hurt. So there's no physical pain maybe, but it feels bad in your emotional body. When someone's judgmental to you and you're trying to be defensive, you might experience that as a mix of emotions and the mind. So in the Vedic system, there's a subtlety in this. How it's commonly explained in English is that, we have 10 bodies. So if you've ever studied yoga, there are different arms of yoga, and then we have many bodies. The common ones being the physical, the emotional, the mental, the radiant, and the soul body, and all of these things. But here's the thing. We are one body, and the experience of life moving through us pours through in different forms. So we are experiencing life mentally through our mental body, emotionally through our emotional body, physically through our physical body, and radiantly through our soul body. But it is just one. So when you go to an acupuncturist or an Ayurvedic doctor and they look at your stomach and you're like, you hold worry here. And we think, stomach holds worry. That is partially true. But it's almost like from the perspective of the unified mind, it's not that the stomach is holding an energy or emotion. It's that the emotion and the mentality and the physicality are all one. And so I don't know if that may resonate with you or help you I know for me, it helps me, it helps me break down the separation that I create. That, you know what, this isn't a physical problem, this is an emotional problem. But we are one, right? Like we experience things together. We might experience hurtful words as a pain in our heart physically. And so if this is something, again, this might meet you, this might not, but my hope in sharing this is to give you permission to override this idea, this notion, perhaps this thought, that somehow to make any changes in life, it is so hard because we have to move through our emotions and move through our thoughts and move through our ancestry. Sagittarius energy has this very I am a grand teacher of things vibe to it. And one of the beauties around our thoughts creating our reality is if you truly hold the belief that, you know what, maybe this is hard, but I can commit. I am determined to change this in a way of non-resistance, in a way of acceptance, then learnings flow through. And the mind is only rigid when we choose to make it rigid. The mind is rigid when we choose to attach it to stories and traumas and shoulds and should nots and shame and judgments and pains and what happened last time that didn't work. That's all choice. And so in a way, it is highly complex and nuanced, but it is also very simple. So your sentiment of relationship to your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts, the narrative, the tone, how you speak to yourself, what the voice of your creation is, all that is illumined in when the moon is in Sagittarius. And so the next one we're going to move into is when the moon moves out of Sagittarius and into the sign of Capricorn. So stay tuned for that one.